Hello, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Borders with Mancomp. Today we have Mr. Arthiraj with us, who is an Ivy League consultant. He has over 2 decades of experience placing students in Ivy League colleges. And today's episode is going to be on how to crack Ivy League. Hello, welcome, sir. Thank you for being a part of our podcast today. So, shall we jump into our questions?
Please.
So, the first thing that a student typically thinks is, when does a student have to start the process of applying for an Ivy League college?
There are three entry points for preparing for Ivy League universities. The earliest of the entry point will be at the ninth grade at the school, because once you enroll in the ninth grade, you have ample time to prepare for applying to the Ivy League colleges. The second entry point will be at the 11th grade, where the student can enter. The final and almost non-missable target, I would rather say, is at 12th grade, which is almost the fag end of it. I would recommend a student enters at 9th standard, and if he's not ready at 9th standard, he enters at 11th standard.
It's good to know there are three entry points, but what are the requirements that the student needs to qualify to enter an Ivy League college?
Well, Ivy League universities look at a lot of factors before they admit you into the university. One of them is, of course, the academic grades. You need to have really fantastic academic grades. And when I say fantastic, it should be definitely about 90 percentile. Not just in the 12th grade, it's also in the 11th grade, 9th grade, and the 10th grade. So academics is one of the most important factors which will determine whether you get admitted into an Ivy League or not. The second is, of course, your passion towards what you want to study. You need to demonstrate through practical work what kind of passion you have and how you can prove the passion to the professors who's going to select you. Finally, you should be very creative enough in problem solving, because Ivy League universities teach you not to solve the existing problems. They go on to teach you about approaching problems which are towards the future. For example, climate change is a very good example, which is a complicated issue between different streams of academic discipline. So one needs to be creative enough and passionate enough. That needs proof in the application, along with a very good academic grades. This will certainly make sure that you're admitted into Ivy League. Not just that, the next thing is that you should have really good grades in your SAT examination as well as the TOEFL examination. So these are the things which are necessary to get into an Ivy League college.
Here we are talking about academics and what the student is passionate about. How does a student inculcate this in their profile?
Well, there are multiple ways in which he can do it. Now, of course, a very good academic grade is indicating that he will definitely have the potential to succeed academically in the Ivy League colleges. So that's, of course, as I said, very important. But when you come to passion and creativity, one requires a deep commitment and a focus in a particular area. For example, lastly, I was talking about climate change. Now, climate change has implications even in economics. So let us say a student wants to do a major in economics and study about the impact of climate change on economic models. He needs to demonstrate to the admissions committee that he has foundational knowledge about economics, the skills necessary to process data in economics. That will definitely give a heads up over the other candidates to get admission into the Ivy League colleges.
Now we have an overall idea of how a student's profile should be academically and extracurricular wise. How do Ivy League colleges, give out scholarships?
Well, Ivy League colleges are called Ivy League colleges because they have huge endowments. There are private people who commit a lot of money to Ivy League. Also, the government, which puts a lot of money into the Ivy League colleges. So, a part and parcel of Ivy League is actually providing scholarship to students. But scholarship to deserving students is always a possibility in Ivy League. The question of whether they are deserving or not deserving depends on the passion and the commitment the student can throw into their discipline, can throw into what they are going to do in Ivy League. If there is creative enough academic work in an Ivy League setting, it will almost always be 100% offered scholarship from most of these universities.
Is there an interview process for scholarship that the students have to go through?
See, the Ivy League admission process is, at most of the places, there will be certainly interviews. You might have interviews with professors. You might have interview with some of your seniors, with some researchers and so on. So interviews are an integral process of admission into Ivy League. For scholarships, yes, there would certainly be interview processes. For admissions, yes, there would be interview processes. These interviews are conducted in such a way that the faculties and other people come to know you more better and whether you fit into their agenda better. So, rather, it should not be called as an interview, it should be called as a genuine exploration for both the parties involved about whether they are the right fit into sitting into a project.
That's good to know, sir. Does any extracurricular activity play a role in their admissions?
Yes, of course, extracurricular activities do play a role in the admissions process. For instance, if you are volunteering with an organization about climate change, and it definitely reflects your deep passion and commitment towards climate change and your actionable work towards climate change. Now, these sort of extracurriculars certainly go on to prove the fact that you qualify and you fit for a particular cause. So the extracurricular activities, not just volunteering activities, any extracurriculars holistically will contribute to your profile.
Okay. Does like sports and music also play a part in this?
Obviously, yes. I mean, for example, if you talked about music, that's a very interesting area because music and mathematics has a very strong corroboration between them. Very few people know about it, and people who are masters in music perhaps can make relationship between music and mathematics. So we should not consider, look, I know music, and does that have any relationship to my academic studies? Well, yes, you perhaps don't know right now, but in the future, you might be one of them who would be relating mathematics and music.
That's interesting, sir. Now, can a student from another college transfer to an Ivy, and what would be the approximate cost of studying in an Ivy League college?
As far as transfer from other colleges are concerned, it's really a complicated question because I strongly believe that it's best to begin the academic journey at Ivy League and complete it in the same Ivy League. If you're from some other college and you want to transfer to an Ivy League, typically your time to educate or the time for graduation will extend. And I wouldn't recommend that at all. But it is quite a possibility. You study at any other college, you can certainly transfer to an Ivy League college. Secondly, about the cost, most of these Ivy League colleges, the scholarship opportunities are very huge. So you might not have to spend anything at all after your first year if you are academically good and you have found a mentor to go forward. But let's say you hypothetically you put everything from your pocket, then it should be almost close around 1.5 to 2 crores. That should be the range you should be expecting to spend on an Ivy League college.
Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of our podcast.
It's my pleasure.
I hope all the Ivy League aspirants would find it informative. To see more such content, like, share, and subscribe. See you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.